If you could sacrifice yourself.
Welcome back. Today I'm excited to bring to you our special guest, Lady Sherry Sanders and Pastor Greg Sanders. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And so I know that you knew the Lord at a young age, but you really didn't commit to the Lord until older. So what do you think set the stage for that?
I have a very broad breadth of religions and understanding because I was self-taught that way. My father taught me that way first, and so I had a very spiritual basis, but not a very Christian point of view, and that's why I couldn't hold on to what I got when I was working. But my Sunday asked me who God was, and although I thought I could answer the question, I couldn't answer the question. He wouldn't let me answer the question. So I had
Your love's unending, so pursuing, stays renewing my heart. So pour the load of love you hold, God. Show me more of who you are. If you could sacrifice yourself again, just for me, you'd go to the end to see me.
So I had that hanging on my back as a father because I don't like to be inadequate as a man or as a father or as a husband. I already failing as a husband. I was already kind of failing as a man. And he asked me something as a father, and now I'm getting ready to fail at that. So I was trying to do something to fix it. So we went to the church, and while we were there at the church, the evangelist preached. It was a visiting evangelist. Matter of fact, we had never heard the pastor preach at that point. We had been there 2-3 times, hadn't heard the pastor at one. And I saw, I don't know what you saw, I saw the man was hurt by something that happened in the church. And as he was preaching, I don't recall the message, but the Lord touched and started healing his heart. And I could envision, I could see his heart being healed. And then I saw a picture of my heart, and I knew I needed to be healed. But we had already dedicated ourselves in that day to join the church.
Nice. That's right.
Okay, so when altar call came, we come up to join the church because I figured that was the time. I've been church around long enough that I knew when to go. I don't know what you saw and what you heard. You never told me. I never asked you.
No. I followed as a family,
Right.
pretty much, but I gave my life to Christ also.
Okay.
I didn't see all this, in-depth things. So.
And so we went down the aisle a second time. So the first time we walked down the church aisle, me and her, we got married. Because we got married in the church, I was married. So we did before God and man. But there was no God in our lives. So it was just me and her. And we worked hard at it. I have to admit, people look at us, they were envious of us, but we had issues.
Right.
But when we gave our lives to the Lord, we went from contract with each other to covenant with each other, with God being in the midst. And I got a testimony, I'm not going to give it now, but 1 week later, I was like, ooh, I love this Jesus thing. Because I could see the effect of it
Right.
on how she responded to me.
Right.
And then she could see the effect on it because I wasn't responding the same to her. No, I still had a bunion on my big toe from before I got saved to after I got saved. But, not literally, it's figuratively. But the point was something inside had already started changing us.
That's true.
And that's why spiritually we transitioned. Within a couple of years, we did stuff that most people don't do. And our obedience and our sacrifice and stuff took us to places. I was pastoring within 5 years of being saved. That Telago service.
And that's what I love, like when I think about your story. Sometimes you feel like the Lord's placed something in your heart, but you're like, well, I'm not qualified. I don't have this. I don't have that. So I love the obedience.
Well, I will say, if you're going to grow in the Lord and you're going to dedicate yourself to Him, oh man, you're going to make sacrifices. Some of it's going to hurt. But it's just like working out. You work the muscle. When you first start working that muscle, it hurts. And then you keep working to get stronger, and it still hurts.
Right.
And it's not until you get used to using that muscle that you start saying, oh, it's okay. And that's when you put some more weight on it.
Right.
And then I start to hurt again.
Right.
But all of this is being done to build me up to where I need to go, to build me up. So, I mean, I will never tell anybody I have not been hurt within the ministry. I will never tell anybody I haven't gone through things in the ministry. But I love that scripture. It's not my favorite scripture, but it's one of the scriptures I lean to, especially in ministry. All things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and are the called according to His purpose. Because that lets me know that regardless of how bad or rough or hard the situation may be, God is working something out of it. And it may be something he has to work out of me.
Right.
You know, I mean, you put detergent on a dirty rag to get the dirt out.
That's true.
But then you put it in a washing machine where the washing machine pretty much beats it up so that the detergent can do what it needs to do to get the dirt out.
Right, right.
But the end result is a clean towel, clean cloth, whatever it may be,
That's it.
so that you can, and you still gotta dry it. But I mean, it's still, I mean, that's a process.
Right.
And we can't hate the process for getting us to where we need to go.
Oh, wow. That is something right there. Because I know there are so many times where we want to just skate
Get
through
there.
it. We want to just get to the end part, and it just, God doesn't work like that.
No, I mean, this last move, I say it was traumatic. It's because I saw where God was leading us and where God was taking us. I had one of my best friends tell me, you're not supposed to go. And he's a prophet. I'm like, no, the Lord is telling me I gotta go. I gotta go. And I understood why he said what he said. And we talked about it later. I said, my season there was over with.
Right.
Job wasn't just a job. It was my season ministerially was over with. It was time for me to go. And I needed a refreshing. I needed a renewal. And when we got here, we got to a place where I got a refreshing renewal.
Right.
I ain't gonna say it was no issues, but everywhere you go, there's always something. But the thing about it was something different. It was where God wanted me for some finishing work. Because the pastor I was under, now I talk about pastoral heart. I was under a man whose heart as a pastor was just super loving.
Mm-hmm.
Super loving.
Mm-hmm.
And because I could see him in the sacrifices he made for care about the soul, about the lamb,
Right.
that it opened me up to say, I can do that.
Right.
Because before it wasn't that I couldn't feel, it was I wouldn't allow myself to feel.
Right. Right.
And so, I mean, I went back to school, I finished my degree, and I mean, all of that was a process for me to open up my heart. Even the job I'm in is oversight, and oversight requires different techniques and management. I mean, I know how to manage and lead, but this was a softer leadership style, more tender. So all this was pulling all this, we call it blue, all that blue out of me.
Right.
And I was just, tender and mushy.
A lot of times it's not until we get to the end of whatever that season is, until we see, man, all that in the past, that was prep work where God was just laying down the foundation
That's
and
true.
setting me up for this moment right here when you weren't even thinking about God back there.
No, I mean, that's the wonderful thing about it is that he does allow you. What did he tell Moses? Moses said, God, I want to see you face to face. I want to see you face to face. God said, Moses, you can't see me face to face. You can't withstand I tell you what we do. We hide you in this cleft. And I'm going to cover you with my hand.
Right.
And when I pass, I'll let you see my hindmost part. I mean, that's somebody telling you, I won't let you see nothing but my behind. Look, God, why did you say that? God, now, what he really was saying is that I want you to see where I've been. That as you come behind me, you see where I've been. And that's how God does, because we think God is right, he is right where we are. But he's already been here and he's gone too.
Right.
So you're seeing the after effect, the afterglow. You're not even the full presence of God. We're going toward his presence. And so what we're seeing is what he's done for us. And I mean, when we come to that revelation, that's when we can praise God in the middle of the storm.
Right. Right.
I mean, because that was one of the hardest. There's 2 lessons we learned as a couple. What was the first one? What were we delivered from?
People.
You have to think about that. We were delivered from people. Now let me explain this. I don't mean we don't need nobody.
Right.
I mean, we were delivered from people where your opinion is not the controlling factor of our life. My father raised me in such a way that I was a leader in my own right. Regardless if I had less money than you, less than you had, no matter what you had more than me, that just means you had more. But he raised me to be a leader in my own right, so I feel good in my own skin. I walk tall, hold my head high, done all those things. But I didn't know that people's opinion of me and what they said stuck to me back even then.
Right.
But when we got in ministry and we're going through ministry quick, I mean, he's elevating us and showing us things, being shown favor. It's just awesome how God did these things and all the favor he was showing, and I'm being elevated, and I'm like, but I don't feel worthy, and people talking, and then all of a sudden I couldn't hear nobody talk. They still was talking.
Right.
It was like they were talking through glass. You see their lips moving. but I could all of a sudden do what God wanted me to do.
Right.
Here's the thing about it was, I say I didn't hear,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard.
Right.
Right.
And I could respond to the things I need to respond to, but leave alone the things that didn't matter.
There you go.
Amen.
So we were delivered from people. And the second thing that he gave us was that what he gave for us is for us. Trust in what he gave us. Don't care if somebody else try to do it.
Right.
Don't care if somebody else say they're better at it. Don't care all about that. Just do what I called you to do. Obedience unto him.
Amen.
It's better than any kind of sacrifice I can make. Just be obedient. Because his favor comes in. I love that word, favor. His favor comes in and opens doors that you never would have been able to walk through.
Right.
That's
Right.
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 That's right.
Just be obedient. And that's the awesome thing. So in those two things in our life, we've been able to do so much.
That's true.
Because I care about what you say. Because I care about you. I don't care about what you say and then what you tell me to do. That's why I could walk away from what my friend, the prophet, said
Right.
about you're not supposed to go. Because I'm like, no, I know what God's leading me.
Right.
But I receive what you're saying. I need to be careful and follow God. I receive that.
That's right.
I love your concern for me. My brother, I love him. And we still good friends.
Right.
That's right.
One of my, matter of fact, he was my best friend.
And that-
To me, it came down more to the choice of whether I was going to move. It's like, I can measure the voice. It doesn't line up with God's word, doesn't line up with his principle. Is this how God has operated with me?
Right.
Now, sure, he can surprise me a little bit because he's not going to do everything the same way every time. But there's a certain process that God develops within us as individuals, and we know when it's God.
We know.
But the crazy thing is fear.
Right.
I mean, if fear had touched me, I never would have started this. We would never started this. Excuse me. Fear is shadow. Fear has no substance.
Right.
But it looks horrifying. Got that little light on a little bitty thing, but it's casting such a big shadow on your life that you start reacting to the shadow when the substance of the shadow is less than an inch tall.
Right. When you think about the fact that an if can paralyze you, it's not even a known, it's just an if. And you're paralyzed by an if.
And more people are scared about jumping out of an airplane and they had never been in the plane. Never had a chute on, never had done anything toward it, but they're horrified of jumping out of a plane. But how many times have you jumped? Oh,
Right.
never jumped. So how you know you're scared?
Right. Right.
You're scared of something you've never experienced. And that's how the devil operates with us. He gives us such a fear about something we never experienced that he makes us think we've experienced it. And it's like, oh, I've never done it.
Right.
Well, I can't eat that because, that just wouldn't be good for me. When did you try it? Oh, I never tried it. I just know it's not good for me. I mean, fear, it paralyzes us. But God's voice, I don't know, it just, and I'm not talking down to people who don't think they can't recognize God's voice. But God's voice is so distinct and so unique, and if you have a relationship with him, you know his voice.
That's
It's
the
just
key.
the fear. If you can get past fear, fear will tell you your finances can't do it, but that's when it's right for God. Fear will tell you that you're not smart enough, but that's why God gives you people who are smart. Fear will tell you that you don't have the influence. That's when he gives you favor. It's not about us, it's about God.
Right. And it's that two-step because you have to have that relationship in order to know, when you're here and then let go of the fear. So.
That's why I walk in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. We walk in crazy faith.
There you go.
And that's the way I've been walking the last 4 years. When the Lord, I used to work down in Leavenworth with the VA, and I knew I wanted to leave that job, and I call it my good government job, and I was praying for a while, and during the holiday season, I had took 2 weeks off because I never used to take holiday leave. I would let the young ladies that have the younger children take leave. So this particular time, I decided I'm gonna take leave for 2 weeks, and while I was at home, I was praying and praying. I kept saying, Lord, I can't deal with this anymore, the commute and everything else that was going on. So I was like, oh Lord, I need to find a job, or I need to leave that job. And he said, do you trust me? The voice of the Lord, he said, will you trust me? Do you trust me? Will you trust me? And I said, Lord, I trust you. And I went back to work, and I told my supervisor, I said, I'm putting my 2 weeks notice. Now, some people have thought that was crazy, leaving my good government job, but the Lord said, will you trust me?
Right.
And he haven't let me down since that day.
Now, I have to confess now, I told her, I said, don't 2 weeks, do 4 weeks. Get it past the year. I want to get past the year. I said, you give me past the year, I can figure it out. But she did her 2 weeks. And, you know, I was like, okay, if the Lord told you, I got to figure out 2 weeks. But like she said, God has been so faithful. I mean, ever since then, God has given. Even the transition from St. Louis to here was difficult because of the move, the house, the housing market. Everything wasn't working well with us. It was working against us.
Right.
So when we got here sort of at a deficit. And I call it that was our season of famine. But I've never been so fat in a famine.
Right. Right.
And it's just because God provided for us in the midst of the famine. And so, I mean, if you could do it then, you did this there, you done this there, then how much more will he do it for us now?
Right.
And I sort of measure everything that God gives us, was it Philippians 4:8? Whatsoever is true, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is, I got a little note here. No. Whatsoever is true, whatsoever is honest, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is a good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, that's kind of the standard I use. I take that as my ruler. And I always use that to measure things.
Right.
And that helps me. So, you know, when I test things, which are coming up in my mind, when I test things, will it give God praise? Is there virtue in it? Is there life in it? Is it good? And I mean, I even throw other adjectives in it just to help myself out. But the main thing is it right?
Right.
Is it?
And if I can measure it up and if it's right,
Not a word.
okay, let's do it.
Amen.
I think that's it. So on that note, we'll be right back with more of Pastor and Lady Sanders. Stay tuned.
Come see,
Come here,
and come praise.
come see what true fellowship and unity amongst believers look like.
Come hear words of exhortation, edification, encouragement, of power and life that is found in Christ.
Come praise God together with believers from local and distant churches as we lift glory and honor to the Lord.
For the greater gathering in Gardner is a time of unity and celebration for the churches of Gardner and beyond.
A celebration for the great things God has and is doing, and all the greater things to come.
Welcome back to Lighthouse TV. I'm so thankful that you came back to join us, though you probably didn't go anywhere. But before we continue with the rest of the interview for today, I just wanted to thank you guys again. Today's episode is hosted by Greater Than Life Ministry, so thank you. Your place is beautiful. I cannot believe you guys are just gonna have to come out here and see for yourself, like all the beautiful things they've done in this space. Of course, thank you to all of you who are sponsoring the show. Thank you for liking the episodes. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing. And of course, those of you who are contributing financially, thank you for supporting us, helping us improve our audio, helping us just pay for all our web fees and paying for production, because I don't know if you know, but it takes quite a while to produce and edit the show. As a matter of fact, today's show took that many hours to produce. So thank you very much. That sound means it's time for the lightning round. He's volunteering Lady Sanders for the lightning round.
Y'all heard enough from me.
It's a partnership.
It's time to hear
It's
from
a
the lady.
partnership.
It's a partnership. I promise you,
You
it'll
heard
be
it from
easy.
Jamie.
It'll be
It's a partnership.
super easy.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with you.
No?
Do you say soda or do you say pop?
Soda.
All right. Do you put your toilet paper over or under?
I do it the way the copyright says, over.
Oh, okay. I didn't. There's a copyright,
copyright.
people. All right. K-Love or Air One?
Oh, hey love. I'm trying to translate it.
Right? Paper book, ebook, or audiobook?
I used to be paper book, but I read ebooks faster.
Oh, okay. YouTube or Vimeo?
YouTube.
All right. KU, K-State, or Mizzou?
Mm.
Mizzou?
thought she was gonna say no, Alabama.
Well, yeah, I definitely Alabama, Auburn, but
Okay.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm crazy about Mizzou.
Interesting. All right.
But
Royals
I'm
or
okay with
Cardinals?
it, so.
Tigers.
Tigers. Okay. All right.
Detroit.
King James or NLT?
King James.
All righty. Okay. Laurel or Yanny? All right. So I'll explain that after the show.
Okay, give me choices again.
Laurel or Yanny? You're not. If you don't get it from just that, you won't get it. We'll tell him. We'll tell him after the show.
I hope I choose right. Yanny?
Okay. Road trip or flight?
Flight now. It used to be road trip, but definitely flight.
All righty.
Road trip, road trip.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Mountains. All right. Okay. All right. This one is for all the coins.
Oh.
Batman or Iron Man?
Who do you think I am? I'm helping you out now.
I'm going Batman.
He didn't help you.
Batman.
All right.
He does everything
They're
without armor.
DC people. Where are all these DC karmic people coming from? I don't know where they're coming from. Okay.
But you said Batman versus Iron Man. Now.
Marvel.
Tony Stark, Bruce Wayne. I mean, there's no competition. But I'm a Marvel man. I am a Marvel man. But there's no competition between Batman and Iron Man.
We're gonna pray for him, y'all. Summer or winter?
Ooh, I'm a fall guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like just right in the middle when it's getting cool, but it's still warm.
Okay. Facebook or Instagram?
Look, I've only been on Facebook 1.5 years.
After her
let's
husband
go
made
Facebook.
her a page.
I just,
See, I knew I was asking the wrong person,
Yeah.
but I had to ask
yeah.
you.
Next time I'll pass.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's good. American Idol or The Voice?
The Voice.
Okay, so Pastor was singing before when I was setting up audio for the interview. He can actually sing. He can actually sing. All right. Gates or Casey Joe's?
Gates.
Gates, okay. Cable or streaming?
Streaming.
All right. Nike or Adidas?
Nikes.
All right.
Mom, Ditos. No.
Okay. You have an opportunity to redeem yourself from that whole Batman Iron Man situation.
Batman. Okay, go ahead.
Mac or PC?
PC.
Yeah,
She's a Mac. I am PC.
All right. So clearly, she and I will be together in our Nikes on our Macs.
On your iPads.
Right. That's right.
And you be teaching how to twit on Instagram.
Oh my goodness.
Joker.
Yes. Okay, so you successfully navigated the lightning round. I have to say, when we have two people, it's even more fun, for sure. All right, now we've had our fun. One of the questions that I asked you on the pre-interview was what one of your favorite areas of ministry was, and I am not at all surprised that one of them was developing leaders. So tell me a little bit about why you chose that area.
Well, it's also part of our ministry too. I've been under great men and worked with some great women in ministry. I mean, we've been blessed from the very start to now.
Right.
And they've poured into our lives. And from the leader who just said, watch me, to the leader who said, here are these books I want you to read. I want you to come talk to me about it. To the leaders who provoked me unto good works in hard ways, but they provoked me. But through that, all that, I was always like, taking the information in, I said, there's a better way to format it. There's a better way to provide it to others. Because my basic calling in ministry has always been teaching. That's why I love teaching. And that's the off branch of that is development of ministries. Because everybody has a gift within them. And I talked earlier about the body coming together. And sometimes we get so controlling that we don't allow the gifts to develop the way they need to.
Right.
And part of our ministry is what I call gates. Gather, activate, teach, equip, and send.
Love it.
Okay? So gathering people together, in their faith, activating them in their faith, which means their gifts and abilities start to come in, teaching them the standard for using their gifts, equipping them, giving them the opportunity to use their gifts and control settings, and then start promoting them, and then send them forth. Now, the whole purpose of ministry is never just to keep it in. I'm not raising my child up to live in my house.
Right.
I'm raising my children up so that one day they may go, and when they come back, they'll be ready to take care of me, and I can sit back and say, yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that's kind of my backup retirement plan. And it's the same way it should be in the church. I've been some places where the giftings within me, as they start moving and blossoming forth, although it's a gifting to the body, you don't see them allowing it to be used. And I'm like, if we just start using it.
Right.
And so many times we make a person wait to be promoted or elevated within the church, and then they never have been taught or trained, and they get in that position, then they don't know what to do, and they're struggling. It's okay to learn about the history of your denomination and your doctrine and stuff, but you need to equip people in what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
And I love the military philosophy is that they sent us to school before we wore a rank.
Right. Right.
At the E4P, I had to finish PLDC before I could wear my stripes. I had to finish B-Knot before I could put my rocker on. And then before I wore my second rocker, I had to go, well, I got it early, but I had to go to A-Knot. So all this was being done in preparation for the position. Perform at that level,
Right.
but you need to be taught before we move you into it.
Right. Right.
And too many people are being put into positions and not ready for it because they haven't been taught.
Right.
And so the formalization of the teaching process, the equipping process, and then the preparation to send them, because they don't have to stay here, they can go. You're not competition with me. I want you to do what God called
Right.
you to do.
And that just builds the body.
And that's what we're here about. That's the whole purpose of the body. And the Lord placed that in me early. Now, the one thing, my wife is very quiet, but she's a partner with me in the ministry. And she's in it with me because God showed me once, He showed me our ministry, and He showed me preaching, and it was like 3 chairs. And I started preaching, and then 3 chairs behind 3 chairs behind 3 chairs behind 3 chairs toward infinity. And I was teaching deep. I was like, thank you, Lord, I'm going to be a deep teacher. But it was only 3 chairs.
Right.
So He was telling me I was going to teach and work in such a way that it become generational, that it become foundational. I'm like, thank you, Lord, okay. But that's not wide at all. So I looked to my right, and there my wife was to my side. And she was speaking from a pulpit that was right there to my right. And she started speaking. All of a sudden, 3 chairs became infinity left and right. And all of a sudden, it just whooshed all the way back again.
Right.
And this was during a prayer time, early morning prayer time, not too long after we got saved. And He says, you're going to establish the deep, the foundational things, but she's going to touch the here and now.
There you go.
And so she in her own right is an evangelist missionary. Okay? And matter of fact, she got licensed, which is equivalent of a male ordination, before I got ordained. Okay? So I was a licensed minister, and then she became a licensed evangelist missionary, and then I became an ordained elder. But the whole thing about it was, in a whole while, it was all together, the body working. And it's the teaching and development of people just so that they can feel the need in the body. People are so hungry out here. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they're capable of. They don't know what they're called to do. We're trying to find out. And these questions are easy to answer if the people are taught and brought up so they not only just give an answer, but live it.
Absolutely. I love the way that He makes sure that we know how instrumental you've been in this whole thing, in the ministry. You guys don't sleep on the person that doesn't always toot their own horn. Like, I know you're working behind the scenes. I know that you are just as much a part of all of this. Like, we'll have to, I feel like we need a whole nother interview just to talk about the way that this building came together and the furnishing of it and all that. I mean, it's just been incredible. And I know a lot of that was work that you did and work that you put in.
Like I said, I'm not really the talker. I believe, you live it. Even though, we both live in it, but I don't believe you have to tell people everything, that you do or whatever. You just live that life and they'll see what you do. Like I said, if somebody comes to the ministry here, they can look around and tell that this the building, everything we put into it was done in love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they know that this is God's hand on this ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And by them walking in, they could see that, you know, the both of us are definitely people of God.
Absolutely.
And God has taken care of us. He's opened every door for us. So sometimes you don't have to say a lot of words for people to see the God that lives on the inside of us.
That's right. That's right. Another question that I had asked you was, outside of the Bible, what books had inspired you? And one you mentioned, it was the title had evangelism in
The Master Plan of Evangelism.
So I want to know more about that.
A bishop here put me on the book when he heard I was opening the church, and I read it for the first time, and I'm still reading it. I have it over there on the counter. It basically talks about Jesus. He breaks down the ministry of Christ to talk about the plan for evangelism, how Christ was selecting who he brought into his inner circle. Just talk a few numbers. 500 were around him as a core. 70 went out in pairs and operated in his name, but 12 were the ones that were sat up there in the upper room with him when he did the Passover meal. And even then, when he went to pray, it was only 3. And when he went on the Mount of Transfiguration, it was only 3. So he took time to minister to whomsoever, but he set up his leaders. And I'm like, man, this is where I'm at. He got his leaders together, make sure he took time to train them, make sure that they knew they had to be committed. But it's just a plan for evangelism, how you start with your core. Because if your leader's not there, if I was to go out and preach a message and thousands of people came in here, I would be hard pressed to manage them. Because I won't have all the leaders in place to deal with them in the different areas that need to be dealt with. So God will send you people in that can work as your core group. You train them up in the practice and the process. Has to be the process.
Right.
The application's going to be slightly different because everybody's different. But if they learn the process, then they can operate with you in the process. And they have to understand the process. And Jesus made sure he did that. I think that's like the first 3 chapters of the book. But just how he talks about it, I was like, man, that's fantastic. It's taking my leadership skills, which I learned in the military, which I formalized in my collegiate education, and it's now teaching me biblically how to mix those two together with my faith.
Right. I want to make sure that everyone that's watching understands how important it is for all of us as believers to understand the principles of evangelism and understand that is our role here. Like, we are not just here to be, okay, I got my get out of hell free card and like now I live and I just exist and everything. Like, no. Now that we have our salvation and we have our relationship, it's time to bring somebody else alongside with you, but we have to be ready. Like you said, we have to be equipped. We have to understand what the process is. And so I love that I have another book to read now. So thank you.
The wonderful thing about this is that, you know, starting the church is an apostolic type work. I'm not calling myself an apostle. I'm saying I'm working at apostolic work, which is different than the office. I've worked in the prophetic where God's gifting for speaking prophecy or working in prophecy has been there. I've worked as a pastor in a pastoral gift. I've worked as a teacher, and what's the other one? The last one is evangelist. I had never worked in the evangelical gift. Never thought about it. Just never saw myself going out to evangelize. And this book has changed my mind because it's put a different perspective on how to evangelize. Because you may not be the one that's actually doing the immediate work, but the office of evangelism is for an evangelic. But there's a lot of people that work around the office that are administrative and supportive to it, and I am one of those roles. Right. And so if I teach people about the master plan of evangelism, help them in their leadership skills, then that allows them to expand that office, and some of them even take that role and work with it. I'm just...
Right. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is understanding that each of us has a part to play.
That's right.
And that, I mean, really that's why this show has happened, because everyone that is watching right now, there is something you can do for the body, regardless of who you are. You didn't start out, when you set out at 13, you probably didn't know that this would be where you were right now.
This is total contrary to what I thought it was going to be.
Right, but here you are. And so we just have to leave ourselves open to do that work. And when the Lord calls us and says, Gardner, we're ready to move.
And this was and is a major transition for me, because the Lord had taught me how to be comfortable where I was, which was second. I was enjoying second.
Right.
I could do most of the work and didn't have to have most of the responsibility.
True.
and even though I got some responsibility, I was never had full accountability.
And no, that's right. That's exactly what I was going to say. No one, and even when it's not your responsibility as the pastor, it's still your responsibility. That's the way it appears. For sure.
Well, see, and that's one thing I love about the role of second is that the Lord taught me that if something failed, like that bottle fell, don't worry about it, Pastor, I got you.
Right.
Don't worry about that. And I would do those kind of things, and I've never been one to. I wasn't carrying books and stuff like that. That kind of seemed a little sucky up here to me.
But you feel the need when you saw it.
I took care of the
Observation and
support. That's what I mean. I wanted to support, but I just couldn't, because there were some people who carried books just to be carrying books so they can get, I know. So I never wanted to be that.
Right.
But I love being around them. Why did you do what you do? Why did you think what you think? And just to take some weight off them so that they can have a breath.
Right, for sure. Well, before I let you guys go, thanks to all of our lovely viewers and supporters. We want to pass this gift along to you all. So
Thank you so
want
much,
to
Jamie.
take a moment to just open that up.
You gotta open it.
It's in that greater than life green.
Love the green.
Y'all have to come here to see, then you'll understand. Oh man.
Oh, thank you.
When I saw that,
Thank you.
I thought of you guys.
This is it.
Turn around so they can see it. Pray.
You definitely gotta pray. When you pray, there's gonna be some weight. And then you're gonna trust.
I gotta say they spell weight wrong.
Okay, tell us about that.
It's supposed to have an E. As in serve. Like a waiter.
Ah.
Don't twiddle your thumbs waiting for God to do something. Serve in the instant.
All right, all right.
So we appreciate you.
Yo, amen.
I appreciate you all. I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. If you guys want to know anything more about Pastor and Lady Sanders, all that information will be on this episode's show notes, which you can find on LighthouseTV.online. I'll reference the church website. I'll reference the books we talked about, everything. And as always, please like, comment, share, subscribe, support. And of course, check them out on Greater Than Life Ministries. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
Could sacrifice yourself again just for me, you'd go to the end to see me run to you. So I'll run to you, letting go of how I lived and what I've known, to sit here at your throne and worship you.